All right, so we're back, and Oleksandr Usyk is your new undisputed, unified, first time in 25 plus years heavyweight champion of the world. And in my opinion, he's the best boxer on the planet. What do I mean? What just happened? The breakdown. Let's go. As we thought going in, this was going to be a very close fight. Now, however you scored this in the long run, one, leave your comment below. Two, there's going to be a variety of different scores because this did go to a decision and a split decision at that, but I tend to think this was not split decision worthy. In fact, after rewatching this, I think Oleksandr Usyk could have won the fight by stoppage in the 9th round. We'll get to it, but the point I'm trying to make is everything is subjective when you get to a decision in boxing. What do you prefer versus what did the judges prefer versus what actually happened? And there's a lot of ambiguity in there, but I thought this fight went a bit how I thought it would, and also in other instances, not even close to how I thought. First thing I was a little bit surprised by was that Tyson Fury allowed Oleksandr Usyk to take the front foot for the majority of the fight. I had figured that maybe in the first round, Tyson Fury and Usyk would do a bit of the feeling out process, which kind of happened, but Usyk was pressing Fury from the rip. He was on the front foot, pushing Fury back and trying to gauge his distance, get inside, work upstairs to land the big-time shot that he would eventually land later on in the fight, but couldn't quite get the combinations to land. Fury doing a great job with his frame, but it was a lot of framing, jab, right hand, body work, reset, circle out, which did show us, again, part of what I thought we'd get from Fury, a lot of the footwork, a lot of the defensive ability, and a lot of the movement that we hadn't seen from Fury in, I don't know, a couple of fights at least now, because as of late, with these big-time punchers, he's gone right into the fire with them and tried to outpunch them. Deontay Wilder 3 times, Dillian White, he uppercuts into oblivion. Derek Chisora didn't deserve to be there, but it is what it is. Francis Ngannou sat him on his ass and taught him a lesson about doing that, walking in unprotected. This fight was different for Fury, and to be honest, he was fighting a decent enough fight. I was just surprised that he was allowing Usyk to just walk him down time after time after time, but there was a strategy there, right? Walk Usyk into range, throw his combinations, especially to the body, and turn the angle, get out of range, and do it again. That was what we saw in the early rounds. Is a little bit back and forth. Usyk started the fight well. I thought he won round 1. I thought Fury won round 2. And I thought Fury really started to separate after round 2 as he got into this pocket and this rhythm where Usyk was having trouble dealing with his range and his reach and putting together combinations, whereas Anthony Joshua would essentially try to walk Usyk down, stand in front of him, flat feet, and throw combinations for Usyk to counter before he was pivoting the angle and trying to follow up. It was Fury that was giving Usyk problems with his reach and framing off and then throwing his punches, or clinching and throwing his punches out of it. It was breaking the rhythm of Usyk, and honestly, in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and I want to say 6th, if I remember correctly, on rewatch, by the time we get to round 7, Fury could be up 5-1, or you could have it 4-2, regardless of how you thought. Round 3 is really the round where you can go, okay, it's 2-1 Fury, or it's 2-1 Usyk. Maybe round 4 if you're generous, but I would say it's either 5-1, 4-2, and this looks like Tyson Fury's going to run away with this fight. And again, he was doing it using his movement. He was doing it using the jab for the most part, the body work, and just throwing Usyk off rhythm, but it felt like Usyk was just undeterred. He took some shots in those rounds, no mistake about it. Beautiful uppercuts from Tyson Fury at some points, and again, the body work, the jab, but it never felt like the game plan changed for Usyk. It felt like Tyson Fury at that point was coasting a bit, was at the point where he felt he was comfortable, he was winning rounds, and that this was going to be how the fight went for the majority of the rest of the fight. Until round 7, which again, was a very much a toss-up round as far as what actually landed versus what was thrown, but Usyk started to ramp up the pressure here a bit, and this is where you started to see the comeback from Usyk, from giving up those middle rounds and him finding a pace and a pressure that was putting it on Tyson Fury for essentially the rest of the fight. This was where he broke the rhythm of Tyson's jab, where he wasn't deterred by 1 or 2 shots, then Tyson sliding out of range, and Tyson doing his hands behind the back and his taunting and his looking into the crowd and him having fun. This is where Usyk made Tyson take the fight seriously. One, and not only put the pressure on him, but started to put the pain on him as well. Tyson told you guys this in the preview to the fight, in my predictions, which, yes, I picked Tyson Fury. I thought he'd have a better showing down the stretch. Turns out Usyk's one of the best, if not the best boxer in the world. And Fury's tactics and skill just weren't enough. Straight up, it happens. That's the sport. And again, I'm not sitting here mad about it because guess what? We got a generational champion at heavyweight at least I think for the next 2 days or 2 weeks before he has to vacate one of the belts. But still, we got to witness the unified heavyweight champion of the world, the baddest man in boxing. We all should be grateful. Smile a little. But Usyk found something in round 7. He was not only on the front foot, not only with the pressure, but he found the left hand upstairs. Through the guard and around it, he was catching Tyson with little shots here and there. Nothing to hurt Tyson, but enough to change the way the fight was going and not allow Tyson to keep his hands low, which again, I talked to you guys in the preview, is what he does so often and just utilizes his head movement to try to make you miss and sometimes walks right into big shots. This started to become the case, and Tyson started to not find Usyk. While Usyk was using his head movement to enter range and throw behind it, Tyson was trying to use his to make Usyk miss and then clinch and or pivot out, then throw his punches. It wasn't adding up, and as the rounds went, I thought Usyk won 7, I thought Usyk won 8, and it was mounting. You could start to see he was getting closer and closer to the big-time shot, whether it was a straight left hand through the guard that would pop Tyson's chin up, or the check right hook around the guard, and then some shots to the body, and then the jab, and then back upstairs with the left hand. He was starting to find his rhythm, starting to find the pace at which Tyson Fury wasn't even on the back foot dictating it, but he was having to react to Usyk. And that's where the fight switched in Usyk's mind, I think, but where the fight switched in reality was in round 9, where we get the most controversial thing about this fight. Usyk lands an absolute hammer on Tyson Fury, left overhand on the button, sends Fury stumbling into the ropes. This was a knockout punch. He finally found Fury with his hands down, trying to frame forward and shove Usyk away, and just got close enough to level change, throw his left hand around it, and caught Fury dead on the chin. It was a beautiful shot, perfect shot on the button, and Fury was hurt badly. And while that shot was impressive, and again, Fury got clipped, which you had to think if he got clipped, it was going to be a bad night. He gets clipped in every single fight, it feels like, because with someone of his caliber, because he has lackluster defense in situations where he feels he's out of reach, because he's 6'7", 6'8", the fabled 6'9", not the one I do with your mother, but he puts his frame out and he thinks that's enough. And I'm here to tell you, when guys level change and they get inside of that lead hand, it's not. So once Usyk lands that shot, Fury starts stumbling into the ropes, and I thought that was impressive by itself. That was a knockdown, potential knockout punch in most cases, but we've seen from Tyson Fury, the man has the heart of a lion. Deontay Wilder, who has potentially the biggest punching power in at least the recent history of boxing, could not keep this man down. He rose like the Undertaker for a reason. He has got heart. He's got grit, and he will not go down easy. So he's stumbling around the ring, and this is where I thought Usyk was even more impressive. He followed up with accurate shots versus a big, lumbering, stumbling, bumbling heavyweight in Fury that was on the ropes, bouncing off like he was about to hit a freaking Irish whip in the WWE. Instead, he was catching him with more left hand. Boom, snapping his neck back, right hook, left hand. And I thought the referee was going to stop this. And you could argue, and I honestly might agree with you, that the referee should have stopped this, or at least administered the 8 count sooner, but Tyson Fury was only being kept up by the rope on multiple occasions during this whole chaotic kind of scene that we were seeing unfold in round 9. He was not able to hold himself up. He wasn't protecting himself. The hands were by his sides. He was just stumbling around the ring. I've seen referees stop fights for far less, but I can also argue this was the biggest fight in heavyweight boxing in the last 20 years, so I tend to understand that this was not going to be something where you just want to step in a little too early and give the fans that how could you do that, why would you do that, why did you step in early thing. So that I understood. I didn't think that it was necessarily a bad thing that Tyson was able to finish that round, but I 100% could have seen the referee stepping in and stopping it, and I would have been okay with that. I would have said, you know what? He was not protecting himself. Usyk was just going to keep pouring it on. I mean, thank God for Tyson Fury. There was only 10 seconds or so left when he actually got his standing 8 count from the referee. So essentially the count gave him time to just recover in the corner. But you guys, again, can let me know down below if you thought the referee was wrong for not stopping that, or if he thought it was okay to let it go. You let me know. I'm okay with either side there. I wouldn't have been upset at all and would have been like, you know what? Fair play, you got caught and you got punished, and that's how the boxing world goes if Tyson would have been stopped there. And it would have sent a major message, which I think this win already does for Oleksandr Usyk, but stopping Tyson Fury when no other man had been able to would have been massive for his legacy. And again, already we're going to talk about his legacy being one of the greatest in a second, but nevertheless, he doesn't get the stoppage in round 9, and we move on. So to this point, we have, again, either you think Fury won 5 of the first 6 rounds or 4 of the first 6 rounds. And if that's the case, let's say it's 4-2. Heading into round 7, I give Usyk 7, that's 4-3. I give Usyk 8, that's 4-4. I give Usyk 9, that's 5-4 with the 10-8. Then you go to round 10, and Usyk dominates that round as well, giving Usyk the 6-4 with the 10-8. He's up big here. Or you give him the 5-5 with the 10-8, and he's up 1. Again, depending on where you're at after round 10, rounds 11 and 12 are crucial for this decision in, I think, the case of pretty much everyone. For me, I had at this point seen Usyk start to really run away with things as we got to round 11. So if I had him up 1 or 2 rounds, but with the 10-8, he was either up a point or 3. It didn't really matter to me which one it was, but he was up in my opinion, and I thought Tyson's going to have to win the last 2 rounds to win this fight. Like, he's going to have to get these rounds under his belt to win. Otherwise, this is going to be Usyk by a narrow decision or Usyk by a runaway, depending on how these last 2 rounds go. And sure as shit in Tyson Fury, after that 9th round, yeah, he got back into the fight in some ways in the 10th round, but he lost it completely. In the 11th, this is a close round, man. And again, I know that on the CompuBox numbers, Oleksandr Usyk lands 1 more punch during the round, and he lands more power punches, so you can definitely go Usyk here. But if you do go Fury, you go into this last round with potentially a tie fight, right? It was just one of those things where you looked at it like, okay, Tyson bagged a lot of the middle rounds. He's made this round close. He did survive the 10-8. If he wins 12, I said this on stream, he could potentially get a draw out of this, but I still think Usyk is winning the fight. And sure enough, in the 12th round, Usyk starts to pull away once again. This was, I thought, the staple on the fight. I thought the reason Usyk clearly won this fight was obviously because of what he did in round 9. Obviously how he flipped the momentum in this fight, and again, on the front foot, was walking Fury down, walking the bigger man, the stronger man, the guy that had walked down Deontay Wilder, had never lost, had beaten Vladimir Klitschko, had cemented himself as one of the heavyweight greats of this generation. He was walking him down. He landed more combinations, and once again, that thing that judges look for, that aggressiveness, that ring generalship, whether you want to believe it or not, that front foot action, the person pushing the pace and pushing forward, does tend to get the benefit of the doubt there, but I don't even think that was the case here. I don't give him the benefit of the doubt. I give him the benefit of working, the benefit of pushing, the benefit of bringing the fight to Tyson Fury when he had hurt him earlier in the rounds, and when he knew this was a round he had to put that statement on things, because for whatever reason, the big man with skills is a lot more favored, especially in the eyes of the judges, than the little guy with skills, unless you hurt the big man, and Usyk did that, but this was the punctuation mark. I thought he won round 12. And again, depending on how you saw round 7, in my opinion, and you could even say this for round 3 or whatever, I thought Usyk either won a 115, 112, 114, 113 decision. It could have been bigger than that. Some people had it 116, 111. I didn't go that far, but I thought Usyk did absolutely 1,000% win this fight. And again, it was because he took charge of the fight. He made Tyson Fury the reactionary fighter, which I thought Tyson was going to be able to handle a little bit better. And again, in the middle rounds, he did. He was able to throw those uppercuts and catch the smaller guy with his head down, looking to throw those overhands. But Usyk backed up Fury, and Fury had no answers for the combinations, had no answers for the left hand, again, as he does fight for whatever reason with his hands down and very loose on his jab. It works to a certain degree, but when that range is broken, it is broken badly, and Tyson does get exposed with big-time counterpunches, and that's exactly what Oleksandr Usyk did. A massive win for him, a massive win for Ukraine, a massive win for boxing, because this fight, whether, we have the people online that are going to call robbery and are going to say it was rigged and all this, I hate that crowd just because you guys can't enjoy anything. Whether you agree with the decision or not, this is a moment in history in boxing that we're not going to get for a very long time. And I thought Usyk deserved every bit of the praise he got. I wasn't a fan, I'll say this, and maybe, I don't know what happened with Tyson Fury in the post-fight. Maybe he was a little concussed still, because he did tell everybody to have a Happy New Year, and we're in the middle of May. I don't know what that was. Happy New Year! But he said, he thought he won the fight, which is okay, fair, that's fine. But then he got on the microphone, and again, I just can't excuse this. This is ridiculous to say. He goes, his country is at war, so people are siding with someone whose country is at war, as if to reference Usyk getting the win because his country is at war and people feel sorry for him. And that, I thought, was completely over the line. Again, maybe Tyson was just in the heat of the moment and was frustrated, but it's just so much sour grapes and the complete wrong way to handle a situation like that. Like, just say you thought you won the fight, but to throw the man under the bus like he only won because they wanted to show pity on him for his country being at war. No, dude. He's at war and still came in and, quite frankly, over those last 5 to 6 rounds, whipped the shit out of Tyson Fury. So I don't want to hear none of that, and it was disappointing for Tyson to even say it. But Usyk doing what he did, and while obviously giving honor to his late father, how much it meant to him and his family, this not only means a ton for the heavyweight division, this means a ton for the legacies of both gentlemen. Now, Tyson Fury fought admirably, absolutely, but we had considered him one of the greatest heavyweights of this generation, and I don't necessarily dispute that. I think he still is to a degree, but Usyk coming in and doing what he did, and not only just to Tyson Fury, but to AJ twice, to Chisora before that, having the undefeated record at heavyweight, the undisputed belts at heavyweight, having the undefeated record at cruiserweight, the undisputed belts at cruiserweight, having an Olympic gold medal, and all of his amateur wins. This guy is one of the most decorated boxers of the modern era, and you can argue, even for as little fights as he has all time, we have to start talking about Oleksandr Usyk not only in the pound-for-pound discussion, but at the top of the pound-for-pound discussion. I came on this channel a couple of weeks ago and said Inoue was the best boxer on the planet, and I know this may be recency bias, but when you talk about the heavyweight and now the cruiserweight, double champ, you have to start to acknowledge the fact that these heavier weight classes do, no pun intended, weigh a lot heavier than some of the lower weight classes. And that's mostly because of the difficulty as you go up in weight. And I know, Inoue has done this over multiple weight classes. More than Oleksandr Usyk. I get that. But I'm starting to think that number one ranking belongs to Oleksandr Usyk right now because of what he's been able to do, how he's been able to do it. And maybe it's a 1A, 1B situation with him and Inoue, and maybe I'm being a little bit of a recency bias guy here, but Crawford obviously is right there as well. Canelo's right there as well. You can go back and forth, but I just think it's so impressive what Usyk has been able to do at a far smaller size than the heavyweights of today. You're talking 260 from Tyson Fury, 250 from Anthony Joshua, 250 to 240 Derek Chisora. It's not the heavyweight division of the 90s or the 80s, or the, we're having massive fighters that he's having to overcome, even while being a smaller 220 heavyweight. So I think he's right there at the top of the discussion. You guys let me know, but what I will say is this was a massive win for boxing. You have to give it up to Turki Al-Shade and Riyadh Season and those guys out there for putting the event on. And as far as where both guys go, they both said they want the rematch, so I think we're probably going to get that. I will be interested to see how Tyson Fury is able to adjust to what Usyk brought him in those later rounds, which, again, you kind of had to figure was going to happen, and I just wonder what happened to the game plan there. But Usyk seemed ready to go and switched on for the rematch as well, so I'm sure he says, you know what, I saw what I needed to see. Bring it on again. Regardless, AJ is sitting there, and I don't know how many people are interested in seeing AJ and Usyk 3, but he does feel like a different fighter. He does feel like a guy that's regained his mojo a bit, so keep an eye on AJ as that third guy in the heavyweight division that potentially still could make that heroic return. But as of right now, like I said, Oleksandr Usyk is the undisputed heavyweight boxing champion of the world. And it feels good to say that because the sport is back. And people are interested once again. There is a discussion about it. There is a little bit of pride in boxing, and I love that shit. Comment section, you tell me down below. What do you think? Who won and why? And what happens next for both fighters? I don't have those answers. But if I know one thing, is that boxing's back, and I could not be happy. What happens next in the world of the sweet science? I don't have those answers, but guess we'll find out.